Are home prices crashing in Orlando? Should you wait to buy your home in Lake Nona? Why your home in Kissimmee is not selling? And what should we expect from housing market until the end of 2026 in Central Florida? This and more we're unpacking today in our special episode for June 2026 with Jessica Eckhart. Let's dive right in. Jessica, welcome in. Thank you for joining me today.
Yes, thank you for having me yet again.
Everybody's asking me this question. Are the prices crashing in Central Florida? So what is it from perspective of the appraiser?
Oh, I don't think they're crashing. I think it's a market correction, and I think it's a return to normal, really. I don't think it's crashing.
Okay, so what's the story? Would you take us over?
Yeah, so at the regional level, Central Florida is really functioning well, believe it or not. It hasn't stalled, it feels different. The median price overall for single family homes is around 442,000. The days on market is 38, months of inventory is around 4 months, and the sale to list price ratio is still tight at 98.7%. So homes are still selling, but the market is behaving much more normally again, although I know it doesn't feel like it. The big issue is still affordability. Prices are still much higher than they were before the pandemic, and buyers are very aware, like acutely aware of their monthly payment. So the correction isn't showing up as like massive discounts at closing. It's showing up by longer exposure times and buyer selectivity and market silence when the pricing seems off to the buyer. So in Central Florida overall, I think strategy for agents conducting business here requires a local strategy and price band awareness.
Okay, and why are you telling agents to stop comparing this market to 21 or 22?
Because that was the pandemic. Crazy things were happening all over, right? It was just a frenzy, and that is not a normal market. A normal market is things that take time and buyers and sellers coming to an agreement, over time. It is not this frenzy. The interest rates were so low, and, the economy needed a boost. I mean, it was a weird time. That is no longer, right? So we cannot keep comparing what's happening in the market now to something that was an anomaly.
So when somebody is asking you about how's the market in Central Florida, you don't have the blanket answer for the entire area, correct?
That's correct. Each county really does behave differently because of the different attributes of the different inventory that's available, and they all have a uniqueness to them. So yes, each county does behave differently depending on what's happening in the market.
And why are they so different in between them? Like why is there is such a hard split between county to county?
So Seminole County is the tightest and fastest right now in the first half of 2026. Right now, they've got 25 days on market, about 3 months of inventory, and the highest pending to active ratio at 49.4%. And what a pending to active ratio tells us is how much of the current inventory is being absorbed by buyers. So for every 100 active listings, there are about 49 homes currently pending, and that is a strong absorption signal. So that tells us that in Seminole County, active inventory is being absorbed faster than in other counties. So buyers have fewer alternatives, so they need to act more decisively on well-priced homes. And it's a metric that is more current than even closed sales. So it's a very important metric. So in Orange County, Orange is active, but it's segmented. But their pending to active ratio is still 47.5%. So their absorption of pending to active is really high, right? So when we're looking at Lake County is more balanced and slower. Their pending to active is 36.4. You see how it's lower than the other. And then Osceola is the most buyer sensitive. So that has the lowest pending to active ratio at 29.5%. They've got 5 months of inventory. So for agents, you can't advise every client the same way, right? The county matters because they're all behaving so differently. The price band matters, and the level of competition right now matters.
So then let's go one county at a time, and we're going to start with Orange County because that's where Orlando is and that's where many of our clients are. And for the buyer in the current market, where are the opportunities in Orange County?
Orange County is really active, but it's not uniform. There are many different little pockets within Orange County that all little submarkets that behave differently. The median price of single family homes overall is about 496,000. The days on market is at 32 days. Inventory is at 3 months, and the pending to active ratio is at 47.5%. So that tells us that buyers are active, but they're selective by neighborhood and then the condition of the home and then property type.
Okay, and considering these differences in pockets, how the agents should advise their clients in Orange County?
Yeah, for listing agents, the key is to price against the actual competitive set, not the headlines you might see about what's happening in Orange County. Orange County being a strong market doesn't automatically support a premium price on every listing. If your listing reaches 21 to 30 days without serious buyer traction, that is the signal to reassess your positioning. So for buyers agents, the opportunity is in older listings, properties with condition issues, or listings where the seller is, testing the market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that testing seller not necessarily is going to be in the mood to sell if it's not at the price that they want.
Correct.
That's the issue.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen it happening already, like with one of my clients. Okay, so now let's talk about Seminole County. Why do you think the prices are so stable and why inventory is moving so fast? Let's say if I was trying to buy there, what would I do in this market?
Yeah, Seminole is actually the strongest and fastest moving county right now in this set. So the median price is a little bit lower than the Central Florida. It's at 456. Days on market is at 25 days and inventory is about 3 months. So Seminole has the strongest absorption. So if you're a buyer, you really need to have a strategy to come to the table and be serious, be realistic, and be super clean with your offers in this county.
I think that in this market particularly, it's very important to be pre-approved before home shopping because the right home that comes on the market is not going to stay long, controversial to what people think nowadays generally in Central Florida. And unless you're ready and you're fully pre-approved and you're ready to put an offer right away, you might actually miss out on your perfect dream home, right?
You're absolutely right. If the home is clean, it's well positioned, it's priced correctly, it's going to move quickly in Seminole County. So overpricing still really backfires because buyers, I mean, like you said, they're payment sensitive, but you have to, when you're finding the right thing, you got to act on it in Seminole County.
That's why I always stress out the importance of pre-approval that is solid. And this is something that I do with my pre-approvals when I call them premium pre-approvals because guys, pre-approval means your credit has been checked, your employment has been verified. If you have any kind of alternative employment that is not W-2 or W-2 that is not straightforward 40 hours a week, make sure that it's all been run by the underwriter because you don't want to have any surprises down the line when you're already under contract. It's going to cost you money and it's real money that you're going to spend upfront being on the contract. That's why you need solid pre-approval, preferably work with the local lender that listing agents actually know and they have confidence in how good the lender will be working with them, communicating with them, and how likely they are to close your loan.
Yeah, I do also have a tip for the listing agents in Seminole County, which is if you are on market and you're not getting any traction in the first 14 days, the first 2 weekends, you need to really reconsider your positioning and the pricing because things are moving so quickly in relation to the, to the overall market that if you're not priced right, the lack of activity is really your feedback on the listing.
You really don't want to lose momentum in the fast market. Let's talk about Lake County. That's where most of my first-time homebuyers are looking right now. So where is the real opportunity nowadays?
Yeah, Lake County is more balanced and it's more affordability driven. The median price is about $383,000. The median days on market is sitting at 49 days. The inventory is at 4 months. The strongest activity is really within that 300 to 500,000 range. So the buyers in Lake County are very payment sensitive, like you said. So sellers need to understand that pricing has to fit the buyer's monthly payment reality. I know that's tough for sellers and some sellers don't care, but in order to, conduct business and transact, you do need to be aware that buyers are truly payment sensitive.
I mean, Lake County is a place where we have quite some development in housing going on, and there's a lot of new construction. So you really compete with the sellers on the payment. We speak in we say in every episode, if you compete with new construction, you need to compete on payment because that's what they're doing. They're speaking to the pain of the buyer.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, and buyer's agents, I think it's pretty fundamental that a buyer's agent would help a buyer, look and select homes where the days on market is creeping up. On resale homes, looking at the condition of the property. So for buyer's agents, it's, kind of looking to see where they can get leverage, in negotiation. On the listing side, like you said, you have to think about affordability, and you have to think about the new construction there and the active competition. If you're a listing agent in Lake County and there are no active showings or any serious activity within the first 21 to 30 days, that should really trigger you to take a look at your pricing and have a conversation with your seller.
There's a very interesting underlying story, so stay tuned. We're going to talk about it just a little bit later in the video, but let's discuss the Osceola County right now. Where are the opportunities and how the buyers can actually take this amount of inventory and use it to their advantage?
Buyers definitely have more options in Osceola County, more than any of the other counties. The median price is about $429. The days on market is at 50 days with 5 months of inventory, and that pending to active ratio is only 29.5%. So there's a lot more options. There's more leverage here, and there's more areas for negotiation opportunities.
So if you're the agent, how do you advise your buyers in the Osceola County? And if you're a listing agent, how do you advise sellers in Osceola County? How do you work with this current market?
Yeah, for buyers agents, this is the strongest county for negotiation opportunities. So really, if it's a resale property, taking a look at those inspection reports, leveraging the days on market, and if you want to negotiate on the price. For listing agents, this is the county where expectation setting matters the most. So having that conversation with your seller before you hit the market and understanding what's happening in the market so that you come out priced right. Sellers just don't have much room for error here. So if the price misses the market, then the buyers may not negotiate. They'll simply move on to another option.
Well, I have a question for you about sellers. If sellers are getting showings, so people are coming in to see their home, but they're not getting offers on the table, what does it mean?
That means that the market is giving you your feedback. A lot of times people wonder after a showing, they're like, well, what was the feedback? Well, feedback is in not having an offer. Usually it's because of price. People are so payment sensitive. Affordability is such an issue. And if you're not priced right, they don't even want to make an offer or negotiate. And buyers are very hesitant to offend anybody, or they might, they're going to fill in the blanks in their own head. Really, if you're on the market and you have showings, people seem interested, but then no offers are coming in, it's a pricing issue, most likely. And you really need to get back with your agent, and you guys need to have a conversation about how to move forward. Because if you miss those first 2 weekends and nothing's happening, you got to get back to the price.
I think in this situation, house, no matter how beautiful it is, it's going to be like the dress that we see in the window of the store. And it's so beautiful and you just see yourself in it, but it just doesn't fit.
Yeah.
Jessica, I work with buyers, and my buyers are constantly asking me now, should they wait until market changes? And what should they think about the current market if they plan to buy by the end of 2026? What would be our answer to them?
For buyers, leverage really depends on where they're shopping. So in Osceola County offers really most of the leverage because buyers have more option and more time. Lake County is actually more favorable for payment-focused buyers, especially where there's resales competing with new construction. And then Orange is more segmented, so buyers have opportunity, but it depends on what submarket you're in. And then Seminole County is the least forgiving for buyers because if the property is clean and well priced, you got to move. So the main buyer strategy is not to wait for the perfect market conditions or interest rates. The buyer leverage really changes by county and price range, and the offer strategy should change with it. But I actually have a question for you. So, what is it that you see with interest rates for the remainder of 2026 when it comes to buyers out there looking in the market?
I really don't know what's going to happen with interest rates because, first of all, I'm thinking, I mean, we all expected that they would improve this year. In the beginning of the year, when I was asked about interest rates, we expected that they would improve. However, nobody could foresee the war in Iran. And from the experts in oil industry who I'm listening to right now, we are burning through oil reserve currently. And some forecasts are saying that in 2 months, we're going to really hit shortage of oil and not just, in Asia or Europe, but here in the States. And I don't know how the market is going to behave. I would not put my finger on any prediction, and I would not put any money on the table for any side of where the interest rates would go. However, I would say that if you're financially stable, if you have money set aside, at least if you have your emergency fund that would help you in case of your water heater broke, and you already know that your life changed, you have a kid in school, you have another kid on the way, and you're still living in a 2-bedroom apartment, you let the market dictate your life. And this is something I will always tell you. Live today, live your life the way you deserve and the way your family deserves.
That's great advice. It's very important. You're absolutely right.
Okay, guys, remember we promised you that we're going to talk about an interesting phenomena. And this one surprises me a lot. Osceola County has most homes on the market. It has slower days on market, but yet homes are selling at 99% of the original asking price. Why is that?
There are a few things in the data that just aren't obvious at first glance, right? So yeah, they have the lowest absorption and the highest inventory, but that does not mean that every seller in Osceola County has strong leverage. It means that buyers are filtering before they're going under contract. So overpriced homes may sit, while correctly positioned homes are the ones actually getting to the closing. So it's quite interesting there in Osceola County because it seems like it's has a high sale to list price ratio so that people are getting, offers on what they're asking, but it's actually because the buyers are already filtering it out before they go under contract. They're going under contract to the ones that are really positioned well, and those are the ones that are actually getting to closing.
So they already come kind of predispositioned on what they're going to get at what price, and once they see the proper home that fits that reality, they offering up to sellers' expectations.
That's why sometimes even the data, there's like stories within the data. Sometimes you can see stats like this and kind of come to a conclusion like, oh, well, everything's selling at 99%. And so you're not really seeing what's happening. There's always a story behind the data. It's so interesting to me.
I think it's important for sellers to understand that because it could be misleading when they see this kind of sales and then think, oh, I can ask for more. No, you can't. The market will still dictate its own number.
Yeah, and let's remember there is still activity happening. This is still a normal market. And the ones that are getting to closing, the ones that are transacting business are the ones where they started off priced correctly. And buyers reciprocated with offers, and they went, they filtered out the ones that were overpriced. That's why you're sitting. That's the feedback. But when you have a buyer coming to the table, when you come out to the market priced right, people are coming to the table because they still need to buy homes.
So Jessica, as we already spoke, we don't have a crystal ball, and this is going to be rather directional than predictionary, but what should we expect based on just the moves of the market currently for maybe 2027 with a broad outlook?
Yeah, you never want to predict anything, but and we always look at the data and the historical data. I think looking back just in the last year is important. Looking back the last 6 months is important. But I tend to look back 10 years because, markets ebb and flow and you want to see what the trend is over time. So the current data doesn't show conditions of being anywhere near a crash. It shows a market continuing to normalize. And as long as the macroeconomic factors stay the same. So if current conditions continue, 2027, the remainder of 2026, is going to remain active, but still selective because affordability is still the issue. So buyers will continue to focus heavily on affordability and monthly payment. That pricing pressure is still going to kind of stay flat and soft in areas where inventory is building. And from a county by county perspective, I think Seminole appears best positioned for the remainder 2026 and 27 to hold relative strength in activity. I think Orange should also remain pretty active but segmented. And I think Lake remains still a slower pace and payment sensitive. And then Osceola is probably the county most likely showing more buyer leverage and longer days on market. So I think the key here really to the remainder of 26 into 27 is that it's going to look a lot like it has for the first half of 26. But that should be a good thing. And I know it doesn't feel that way because it was such a frenzy, but it should feel good because we are returning to a more traditional real estate fundamental, right? When you look historically, things take time. It takes time in the market to sell. Affordability is an issue. Like this is a normal pace of business. And I think we're returning to that. So we should feel good about that instead of like, oh, this stinks.
I want to say for agents, because I think many agents are feeling tired. They're feeling fatigue from the current market, frustration, and versus COVID market when sellers were happy and buyers were happy because they were able to compete and win. In this market, sellers are, I don't want to say stuck.
They are. I think it's because, listen, before COVID, the home prices were half of what they are now, right? Because of that frenzy and the interest rates, it just caused so much activity. And so that supply and demand, it's basic economics, right? It drove everything up. So now those sellers have all this equity and they're like, oh man, my house is now worth double what it was before. Mm-hmm. And let me tell you, greed is a thing. And it's normal. It is a part of the human condition. You look at money and you're like, oh, I can get this. Okay. But sellers do have to be more realistic in today's market because no, your home is not, worth the double of what it was. Like, yeah, that's the market we're playing in right now, but that is not where it can stay, not to be affordable for everybody and not to really transact and move in a normal way. So
real estate is very emotional. So for a seller, when they get offer from the buyer who's asking for closing cost concessions, they asking reduction in price. If you're a seller, don't take it personally. It's not personal to you. It's just every buyer who's coming into your home is thinking, what's in it for me? Absolutely. And if you're a buyer who are able to secure a contract, feel good. Don't think that you're buying something that is not good enough. Feel good, because in this market, you're able to secure the conditions that people who were buying in COVID could only dream about. So if you are missing those times for interest rates, embrace these times today, because you're able to get much better offer, much better terms, and much better home for your dollar. Jessica, next month, we are going back to
Orange County, where it all began.
Orange County. Yes, we are going Orange County second half of 2026. We'll talk about the market, about the pockets in it, and about strategies for buyers, sellers, and realtors to navigate this market. Thank you guys for being with us today. We are looking forward to see you in a month.